Discover how a poor girl's incredible struggle forged an unexpected love with a millionaire CEO. Emily wiped the sweat from her forehead, the scent of sizzling bacon and burnt coffee hanging in the air of the bustling diner. The clatter of dishes and the chatter of customers felt like a symphony of chaos, each note a reminder of her daily grind. She flashed a bright smile as she passed a plate of pancakes to a regular, though inside, her heart ached with the weight of her responsibilities. Between juggling multiple jobs and caring for her ailing grandmother, who had been her rock, Emily often felt trapped in a cycle of exhaustion. Every dollar she earned went to bills and medicine, leaving little room for hopes or dreams. But each night, as she tucked her grandmother into bed, she found a flicker of hope. In those quiet moments, she often dreamed of a life where she could escape this never-ending struggle. One day she whispered to herself, "I'll break free." Then there was Jake, the reserved millionaire CEO with his perfectly tailored suit, and an air of solitude that hung around him like a cloak. He sat in Emily's diner as an unsolicited guest, seeking brief solace from the pressures of his world, a world filled with jet-setting and board meetings that left him feeling more lonely than fulfilled. Each time he entered the diner, he'd order the same thing, a simple burger and the special of the day. Watching him from afar, Emily felt that, beneath his polished exterior, they shared something unspoken, a longing for a brighter future. The paths of their lives were destined to cross during a charity event where Emily volunteered her time, hoping to shake things up in her community. The ball glittered with all the wealth on display. She felt out of place, a small candle flickering amid towering flames. It was here, amidst the lavish decor and lofty aspirations, that their worlds collided. "Thank you for volunteering," Jake said to her, his voice as smooth as silk. "It's people like you who make a difference." He was charming, but she sensed a weariness in him, a weariness she recognized. They talked about their dreams, hers of creating a safe haven for her community, his of finding authenticity in a life wrapped in luxury. The connection sparked like a match to dry wood, igniting something neither of them expected. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as their connection deepened, reality crept in like a shadow. Jake's company was planning to expand, threatening the very small businesses that kept Emily's neighborhood alive. The thought churned in her stomach as she faced Jake over dinner one night, the silverware clinking against fine china. Could she really be in love with a man whose ambition could destroy everything she held dear? "Emily," he said, concern flashing across his face, "what if I told you my plans could help your community?" She felt a tightness in her chest, torn between the warmth growing between them and the loyalty she felt to her roots. As she looked into his eyes, she realized that love could indeed feel like a war, beautiful but fraught with conflict. Their lives were at a crossroads. Could they bridge the chasm that separated them? Or would the pressures of a society divided by wealth pull them apart? As the winds of change began to swirl around them, Emily was left with a choice that could alter the fate of both their worlds. Emily sat in her small apartment, the faint hum of traffic below doing little to drown out the storm of thoughts swirling in her mind. The mint green walls felt like they were closing in on her, pressing in with a weight she couldn't shake. She picked at the edge of her blanket, her grandmother fast asleep in the next room, a soft wheeze escaping her lips. Emily's heart twisted at the thought of her grandmother's illness, and the endless bills piling up on the kitchen table. Could she really trust Jake? He seemed sincere, but the stakes were high. What if his plans to expand his company ended up bulldozing the very streets that had cradled her upbringing? Emily's fingers gripped her phone tightly as memories of their time together flashed through her mind. His laughter, his encouraging words when she hesitated about her dreams, kept looping back to her over and over. "What if I told you my plans could help your community?" echoed in her thoughts like a whisper through the night. But help and destroy danced dangerously close together, a waltz wrapped in deceit. She grabbed her phone, hesitating before texting him. Maybe she was overthinking it, but she wanted to know more about his intentions. As her thumb hovered above the keyboard, her heart raced. They had shared a connection she never anticipated, and it terrified her to contemplate risking it due to her fears. Just then a familiar ping sounded, jolting her from her thoughts. It was a message from Jake. "Can we talk? There's something important on my mind." A thrill mixed with dread shot through Emily. Was he about to confess something else, something about his plans? Was he worried too? She quickly agreed to meet him, choosing their favorite park, a sanctuary where children laughed and trees whispered secrets of old. As she walked, her heart pounded steadily, adrenaline coursing through her. She had never been in a position like this, balancing love and loyalty, hope and fear. To the park, she spotted Jake sitting on a bench, his features tense as he stared at the ground. As he looked up, his eyes met hers, and for a brief moment, it felt as if the world had paused around them. A flicker of relief washed over her, but the underlying tension lingered. "Hey," she said, sitting down beside him. The weight of the unspoken hung between them like the clouds in the sky, ready to burst into a storm at any moment. "Emily," he started, running a hand nervously through his hair. "I need you to know something. My plans for the expansion. They're not what you think." "What do you mean?" The worry in her voice was apparent, and she forced herself to hold steady, to not let the fear swallow her whole. He took a deep breath, looking down at the ground as if the answer lay in the dirt. "I've been looking at how we can be more sustainable. I want to invest in local businesses, help them thrive rather than eradicate them." Emily blinked, trying to process what he was saying. Hope swirled within her but was pushed back by doubt. "What's the catch, Jake?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "There isn't one. I want to show you. I want to make this work for you, for your community," he said, his eyes locking onto hers, searching for the truth within her. Could she really believe him? Was he just saying what she wanted to hear? The tension between them crackled, charged with possibilities and fears that had yet to be voiced. As she contemplated his words, a sudden commotion erupted nearby. A group of kids were laughing, a few running toward the fountain. But amidst the joy, Emily felt her heart race for another reason, a consequence of their potential paths intersecting. Before she could respond, the questions piled up in her mind. Would she risk everything she had for a chance at a future with Jake? And could their love withstand the truth when it finally emerged? The air crackled with unspoken words, and Emily wrestled with her feelings, knowing she had a choice to make. What would happen if she took that leap of faith? Would it free her? Or could it shatter everything? She faced him, aware that the answers she sought were just within reach, yet the embrace of uncertainty groaned like a door slowly opening. As the laughter around them faded into the background, Jake leaned closer, the intensity of his gaze sparking emotions she hadn't yet recognized. "Emily, I need you to trust me," he murmured, seeking a path through the chaos of their lives. But could she? Emily's chest felt tight as she searched Jake's eyes for the truth. The laughter of children echoed around them, yet in that moment, they felt like echoes from another world. Here it was just them, suspended on the brink of something big, a decision that could either bring light or plunge her deeper into darkness. "I want to believe you, Jake," she managed to say, her voice shaky. "But it feels like there's so much at stake. My grandmother, everything she has fought for." He reached for her hand, the warmth of his touch sending a ripple through her. "I understand. I do. That's why I'm willing to do this right. I don't have all the answers, but I know that if we work together we could change things for the better." His sincerity washed over her, battling the storm in her mind. But just as she felt herself starting to soften, doubt took the helm again. What will it mean for the people here? What happens when the shiny new buildings come in? What if it's all just a facade? Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair again, a gesture that spoke volumes. "I can't promise that every challenge will disappear overnight, but I want to involve the community in this. There's a way to build and grow without losing the essence of where we came from. Just, please give me a chance to show you." His eyes were earnest, full of a determination that stirred something deep within her. It felt like a lifeline, but was it strong enough to hold them both? "Let's say I trust you," she said cautiously. "What's the next step?" He grinned, a flicker of hope sparking in their shared space. "I want to host a town hall meeting. I'll personally reach out to local businesses and community leaders. They can voice their concerns and ask questions. Everyone should have a say in this, Emily. No hidden agendas. Just honesty." As he spoke, she felt a flicker of belief ignite in her heart, threatening to overpower the doubt. Yet another part of her worried, what if this didn't go as planned? What if he faltered? Are you sure you can handle the pushback? She asked quietly, searching his face for any hint of uncertainty. You know how defensive people can be about their home. I faced challenges before, he said, his voice steady. And I care about what happens here. I care about you. It's worth it. Her pulse quickened at his words. The admission hovered in the air between them, heavy with unspoken feelings and shared glances that lingered a moment too long. The weight of their choices loomed large. I wish I had your confidence, she whispered. It's hard to believe things can change. Jake squeezed her hand, bringing her back to the moment, reminding her of the connection they were nurturing amidst the chaos. Belief isn't always easy, Emily. But it's a starting point. We can build from there together. As she gazed into his eyes, something within her began to shift. A sense of possibility flickered, and for the first time she felt a spark of hope. Maybe she could take a step into this unknown. Just then, a loud splash from the fountain erupted nearby, startling them both. Laughter followed, innocent and carefree, a contrast to the weight of their conversation. Emily couldn't help but smile at the joy surrounding them. Okay, she said, drawing a deep breath. Let us try. But I need you to promise me we'll be transparent. No secrets. We do this together. Jake's eyes lit up, a grin breaking across his face. Promise. This is just the beginning, Emily. As they sat there, an invisible thread began to weave between them, binding their fates in ways neither could fully grasp yet. Hope surged in Emily's heart, but just as quickly, a shadow flitted across her mind. What if things got complicated? What if this was a mistake? The laughter of children faded into the backdrop, leaving them at a crossroads. They were about to embark on a journey filled with promise and peril, and all Emily could do was hope she'd made the right choice. Would the leap they were taking connect them, or would it tear them apart? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows around them, Emily realized the real challenge was just beginning. The next few days felt like a whirlwind. Emily became caught up in a mix of anticipation and dread. The town hall meeting was approaching, and she had never felt so nervous in her life. What if the community rejected Jake's ideas? What if her doubts proved valid and everything they were trying to build crumbled before it even began? She spent hours walking through the town, absorbing the realities of people's lives, the small businesses, the homes that needed repairs, and the fading murals that depicted better days. Each corner seemed heavy with memories, stories of resilience that had created the fabric of their community. The laughter of children still rang out near the fountain, but now it struck her as bittersweet. The world was large and pushing against them, and here they were trying to hold on. Jake, unwavering in his drive, had thrown himself into organizing the meeting. He was making calls, sending emails, and rallying people to join the cause. It was inspiring but also a little intimidating. Are you ready for this? She asked him one evening as they sat at a local cafe. His smile was bright, breaking through the tension that hovered in the air. I am. But I need you here with me, Emily. You know this town better than I do. You understand their hearts. His words sparked something inside her. She wanted to be brave, to stand alongside him. But the small voice of fear whispered reminders of possible failure. What if they don't trust you? What if they see you as just another outsider trying to change everything? Jake's gaze didn't waver. I want to give them a reason to distrust me. I'll show them I care. Together we'll make this work. The way he spoke lit a fire in her spirit, and she nodded, feeling the flicker of hope dance back into her chest. The weight of his promise was becoming their shared burden, and it felt oddly comforting. The day of the meeting arrived, and Emily's stomach twisted with anxiety. The community center buzzed with the murmur of voices. Colorful flyers adorned the walls, each advertising the initiative they were presenting. The sight struck her as oddly vibrant against the stark reality of the situation. As people streamed in, the room filled with familiar faces, neighbors, friends, even the owner of the small bakery down the street. They all took their seats, the energy in the air crackling with uncertainty. Heart pounding, Emily squeezed her hands together as she took in the sight of everyone settling in for what felt like a crucial moment. Jake stood at the front, speaking with authority and warmth as he introduced their vision. Emily could see the glimmer of hope in the audience's eyes, but she also noticed the skepticism lingering in some. It made her pulse quicken. After his presentation, the questions came fast. Some voiced genuine concerns about losing the town's identity, and others questioned the feasibility of his plans. Each question felt like a wave crashing against the fragile castle they were trying to build. What if Jake faltered when it mattered most? She watched him respond to each challenge with a calm determination, sincerity woven into every word. And with every moment that passed, she felt that thread between them tug tighter. It was as if they were woven into the fabric of this community already. Finally, Emily stood. The audience quieted, eyes now on her. The whispers ceased. She took a deep breath and decided that now was the time to step out of the shadows of doubt. If they were to convince the community, they needed authenticity. "Thank you for giving us a chance to be here," she began, her voice steady. "I grew up here. I know what this place means to each of you. And I promise this isn't just about new buildings or fancy facades. It's about coming together and uplifting our home. We need to make changes, but we need to do it as one community." Emily felt a wave of courage surge through her. The eyes that had welcomed her words felt different. The doubt was slowly dissipating, replaced by curiosity and perhaps acceptance. As the meeting drifted to a close, a sense of relief washed over her. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something beautiful. But just then, an unexpected voice cut through the air. "What if we lose everything we hold dear?" The room fell silent again, and all heads turned. The question echoed, full of weight and fear. Emily's heart raced as she prepared for a battle within herself to uphold the hope she had just shared or to crumple under the weight of that worry. Was this journey worth everything they'd both held so dear? As she looked into Jake's eyes, he too seemed to understand the stakes. The path ahead was uncertain, but one truth echoed in the room louder than the fears: the promise of connection. Would they find common ground and build something new? Or would the past overpower their dreams? Emily felt her pulse quicken as she faced the crowd, the weight of their gazes pressing heavily on her. The question that had hung in the air, filled with doubt and fear, swirled in her mind. She could read the worry etched on familiar faces, each one a reflection of the community's heart. What if we lose everything we hold dear? It was a challenge, a plea, and in that moment, she felt the echoes of her own uncertainties. Jake stepped closer to her, his expression a blend of support and concern. She could feel his energy solid and unwavering, infusing her with strength. They were partners in this after all. "Let us not forget," Jake said, breaking the silence. "Change is scary, but it can also bring renewal. Think of the businesses that could flourish, the families that might thrive. We have so much potential here." There was a shift in the air, a subtle softening. A few heads nodded, as if the truth of his words slowly seeped into their hearts. A man in the back stood up, his brow furrowed. "But how can we trust you? You don't live here. You don't know what we've been through." The gasp that rippled through the audience felt like a cannon fire. Emily's heart dropped. Could they fight this skepticism? She glanced at Jake, who remained resolute. "Trust is built over time," Jake replied, his voice steady, rising above the tension. "I'm here to listen, to learn. I want to be as invested in this community as you all are. Together we can make sure our history and culture remain intact. Let us make your voices part of the solution, not the barrier." Emily admired his passion, the way he articulated their shared vision, but doubt still lodged itself deep inside her. The meeting paused as murmurs exchanged among the attendees. Emily noticed a woman in the front row. She held her daughter closely, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. There was a longing in her gaze that pierced Emily's heart. "We're scared," Emily called out, her voice cutting through the noise. "We're all scared. But I promise you, Jake and I want this to be a collaborative effort. We want your input. Your stories matter." The woman nodded, and slowly, the weight in the room shifted again. The heaviness was dissipating, replaced with cautious curiosity. A young man took the floor next, his arms crossed defiantly. "Fine. But if this goes south, it's on your shoulders, not ours." That was a fair point, a risk they hadn't fully expressed. Emily felt her stomach churn. What if they did fail? What if all this hope crumbled into dust? "That's true," Jake admitted, catching her eye again. "I'll take that on. But I can't do it alone. Help us, and we'll ensure your voices guide this transformation." The air seemed charged with possibilities as eyes darted around the room. Emily felt something shift. The seed of hope was taking root amid their fears. We have to fight for what we believe, she echoed, feeling her heart thump against her ribs. The tension broke further as people began to rise, sharing their own fears, joys, and recommendations. Jumbled voices turned into a chorus of honest sentiments that hung in the air as they spoke of love for their town. It was messy and beautiful. With each story, Emily felt more of her own doubts fading. Maybe this idea of collaboration was the way to turn the tide in their favor. As the night wore on, they engaged in deep conversations, fostering connections she hadn't anticipated. They started forming a patchwork quilt of strategies that would guide their community toward a brighter future. Finally, as the meeting drew to a close, a sense of unity wrapped around them like a familiar blanket. "This is just the beginning," someone shouted from the crowd, igniting a cheer. Emily and Jake exchanged smiles, their hearts beating a little lighter. But the voice of the woman from earlier still echoed, "What if we lose everything we hold dear?" It tugged at Emily, reminding her of the stakes as they walked out. She glanced back at the crowd that had become a tapestry of shared experience. Each face was a promise, but her mind was still consumed by the worry of the unknown. Jake took her hand, squeezing it gently. "We can do this together." She wanted to believe him completely. But what happens when they realize they don't want the change after all? His eyes darkened slightly. "Then we keep fighting together." As they stepped into the cool night, Emily felt that mixture of hope and fear intensifying. The town was leaning into a new beginning. But would it be the one they all dreamed about? Could they really forge a connection strong enough to weather the storm ahead? The question lingered in her mind, heavy and exhilarating. The streets of the town glowed softly under the street lamps, casting golden circles of light where shadows danced. Emily felt the coolness of the night air against her skin, a refreshing contrast to the heat of the meeting. She walked alongside Jake, her mind racing with everything that had just happened. "Do you think they really believed us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake looked ahead, his brow furrowed in thought. "I think we made them think." That essay start. It's more than they had before. There was determination in his voice, but doubt flickered in the edges of his eyes as they continued down Main Street. Emily's thoughts were like wild horses running through an open field. What if they stumbled? What if the dreams they had tried to inspire in the people flopped? The weight of their ambition seemed overwhelming, an entire community hinging on their shoulders. "What do we do next?" she asked, breaking the silence, longing for clarity. Jake halted, turning to face her. "Next we dive in. We need to meet with more people, local business owners, families, anyone who will share their ideas. We have to build trust." Emily nodded, but the fear still gnawed at her insides. Trust. Such a delicate thing. One misstep and Emily. He stepped closer, gripping her shoulders gently. "We're not rushing this. Change takes time, and most of all it takes authenticity. The moment we stop being open is when we fail." His words resonated within her, igniting a flicker of hope. "You're right. If we show them we're not just here for some grand plan, but for real connection." Maybe before she could finish, they noticed a flicker of commotion near the old diner at the end of the street. A group of teenagers loitered outside, their voices rising and falling in animated discussion. Their laughter pierced through the stillness, a sound that felt both joyful and nostalgic. "Let us go say hi," Jake suggested, a playful glint in his eye. Emily hesitated, still lost in her thoughts. But something about Jake's excitement broke through her worry. They approached the group and Jake waved. "Hey, what's going on?" One of the girls turned, her face lighting up. "We're talking about the town meeting. Did you see how fired up everyone got?" "Yeah, they seemed really into it." Another guy chimed in. "Someone south gotta shake this place up." Emily felt a rush of warmth. The energy of the youth was infectious. "And do you all feel like you have a say in what happens next?" The conversation turned lively, young voices sharing ideas of what they wanted to see: more parks, a youth center, events that represented their culture. Emily felt a rush of inspiration as their words echoed her own dreams for the town, reminding her why she was there in the first place. As the discussion flowed effortlessly, Emily's heart began to soar. She saw the potential for something beautiful to emerge, and for the first time doubt felt distant. Jake glanced at Emily, and she caught the warmth in his gaze, the partnership between them deepening in that moment. She thought about the woman with the tearful eyes from earlier. The weight of her worry transformed into hope as they engaged with the youth, But just as clarity washed over her, she caught sight of a figure emerging from the shadows nearby, a man looking stern and out of place. He had an air of authority that made the laughter fade, and Emily's pulse quicken with uncertainty. "What now?" she murmured, instinctively stepping closer to Jake. He glanced toward the stranger, his expression hardening. "Let us find out." The air thickened with tension as the man approached. Emily's heart raced again. Who was this newcomer, and what would he mean for their fragile plans? The man stepped closer, his figure looming over the gathered teens. His dark jacket pulled shadows around him, and the vibrant energy of the group felt muted under his scrutinizing gaze. He cleared his throat, an action that seemed to resonate with uncomfortable authority. "Hey there, folks," he said, his voice smooth yet firm. "What's all this ruckus?" The teenagers exchanged glances, their earlier excitement fading into uncertainty. Emily glanced at Jake, who stood with a slight frown, assessing the situation. One of the boys, emboldened by youth and perhaps a little rebelliousness, broke the silence. "We're just talking about ideas for the town. You know, things we want to see happen." "Oh really?" The man raised an eyebrow, an amused smirk playing on his lips. "And who exactly gave you permission to reshape the town?" The boy's confidence wavered, and Emily felt a tightening in her stomach. The man's tone was filled with condescension, stripping away the vibrancy of their conversation. Jake stepped forward, matching the man's gaze. "We're all citizens here. We have a right to voice our thoughts and ideas, don't we?" His tone was steadier than Emily felt inside, but she admired the way he stood his ground. "I'm all for voices being heard," the man replied, crossing his arms. "But you kids need to understand you can't just wave a wand and make changes happen. There's a process." "Yeah, maybe," Emily interjected, her voice trembling with newfound courage, "but if we don't start with some good ideas, nothing will ever change." The man's surprise flickered briefly before his expression solidified into a mask of indifference. "Ideas without a foundation are just dreams. Good luck transforming this town." With that, he turned to leave, leaving the teens floundering in confusion. Emily felt a wave of disappointment wash over her. Here they'd been full of hope, and this man had somehow crushed it in mere moments. "Don't let him get to you," Jake said softly, turning back to the group. "What that guy thinks doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel about your town." Gradually, the teens began to nod, the lingering tension dissipating like morning fog. Their chatter picked up again, and Emily felt the warmth of their enthusiasm returning. "Let us plan something," one girl suggested, her eyes sparkling. "We can get ideas together and present them. Show this town what we really want." Emily couldn't help but smile as the energy shifted back to optimism. The fire they ignited was alive again. "Yes, just think about the possibilities," she encouraged, her heart racing with excitement alongside them. But a shadow loomed in her mind, the man's words echoing. What if he was right? What if they couldn't make any meaningful changes? As she glanced at Jake, he seemed deep in thought, a furrow creasing his brow. "Hey, Emily?" Jake's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "What if we organize a community gathering? Like a brainstorming session for everyone? Not just the teens? We could really engage the whole town." His idea sent a jolt of energy through her. "Yes, we could create a platform for everyone. We just need to get the word out." "Exactly." Jake's enthusiasm matched hers, creating a buoyant atmosphere. "But we'll need to tackle this smart. There's no telling what other obstacles we might face." As the laughter of the teens rang out around them, Emily felt a sense of hope returning. Yet, the conversation with the man lingered like a specter at the edge of her mind. Would they truly be heard? That question loomed over them as they began to plan, the weight of uncertainty mixing with the spark of possibility. But just as they were nearly to a point of euphoria, Jake's phone buzzed ominously. He pulled it out and his face paled. "Oh no," he muttered, glancing at the screen. "What's wrong?" Emily asked, the knot in her stomach tightening again. "It's from the town council. We need to meet with them ASAP," Jake said, his voice dropping. "And I think we know who's behind this." Feeling the chill of uncertainty creep back in, Emily gathered her thoughts. Were they ready to face the council again? And what lay ahead? Emily felt a tightening in her chest as Jake shared the message from the council. The spark of hope they had ignited moments ago dulled, leaving her with an anxious knot in her stomach. This can't be good, she murmured, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. The group fell quiet, the animated chatter softening into tense whispers. Emily could see the uncertainty mirrored in her friend's eyes. Jake's gaze remained fixed on his phone, a storm of emotions swirling around him. What do you think they want? One of the girls finally asked, her voice trembling. I'm not sure, Jake replied, lowering his phone. But it can't be good news if they're asking to meet us so urgently. Another boy stepped in, clenching his fists. What if they want to shut us down? What if that guy we talked to has already said something? Emily could feel panic rising in the group. No, listen, she interjected, trying to hold back her own fears. We can't let this discourage us. If they see that we care about our town, maybe we'll get somewhere. Jake nodded but still looked uncertain. We need to prepare though. We have to be ready for whatever they're going to throw at us. After a few minutes filled with muted discussions, they finally decided to meet later that evening at Emily's house. It would give them a chance to combine their ideas and create a clear plan. As she walked home later, the feeling of dread clung to her like fog. She kept replaying the man's words in her head. Ideas without a foundation are just dreams. What if they were just naively hopeful? What if the council didn't care about them at all? At home, Emily paced back and forth, anxiety racing through her. What if this was about to end before it even began? She dialed Jake's number, needing to hear his voice. Hey, he answered, his tone warm but distracted. Can we talk about the meeting? Like really talk? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Of course. I'm just getting ready, he replied. You're probably right. We need to be a united front. As they talked, Emily felt a flicker of reassurance. Jake always knew how to put her mind at ease, even when she felt overwhelmed. Later that night, when everyone gathered at her home, the air buzzed with a mix of nerves and determination. Gathered in her living room, laptops open and notes scattered around, they began to brainstorm. Ideas flew back and forth, gradually morphing into a concrete outline of their vision for the town. Let us show them how serious we are, Emily said, her heart racing as excitement bubbled within her. We have to present our ideas effectively. Jake stood up, his eyes shining. Let us make a slideshow. We can include visuals, ideas, maybe even some testimonials from other community members. The sense of camaraderie throughout the room thickened. They were no longer just a group of teens but a team with a shared purpose. But just as they built their momentum, Jake's phone buzzed again. The screen lit up with a stark notification. Emily's stomach clenched as he instinctively glanced at it. What is it? She asked, fear creeping back in. Jake's face turned serious, eyes wide. It's from the man we talked to earlier. He's threatening to disrupt our gathering tomorrow, he said, his voice low and charged with concern. Threatening us? Why? A wave of disbelief washed over Emily. Because he thinks we're wasting time. He wants to remind us of our place, Jake said, his jaw tightening. In that moment, the air seemed to crackle with tension. Would their efforts be thwarted before they even began? Emily looked around at her friends, determination igniting within her once more. We can't let him intimidate us. We'll stand together. But would their collective strength be enough to withstand the storms brewing ahead? Was this the moment they would rise, or would they fall apart? Emily couldn't shake the feeling that everything was spiraling out of control. The fire in her belly, fueled by fear and determination, made her heart race. She looked around at her friends, their faces flickering with doubt. They had worked so hard to build something meaningful. Could this truly be the end before they even had a chance? Okay, let us not panic, she said, trying to inject a sense of calm into the chaos. We need to think about what we can do. This might be a message meant to scare us. Jake nodded, leaning forward. Right. We can't give in to fear. Maybe we can find out more about this guy. A little research could go a long way. That's it, cheered one of the other girls. We can dig into his background. If he's trying to undermine us, there's bound to be something that we can use against him. They dove into their laptops, a frenzy of clicks and typing filling the room. Emily felt a surge of energy run through her. This was their moment to push back. Each new piece of information they uncovered, every detail about the council members and their motivations, felt like a small victory. Hours passed and snacks were devoured as they crafted a strategy and built a compelling narrative that highlighted their goals. They didn't just want to protect their ideas. They wanted to inspire change in their community. Look at this. He has a history of shutting down community projects. One of the boys exclaimed, with a mixture of excitement and fear. This could give us leverage. Then let us use it. Emily shouted, her heart racing again. We need to show everyone that we won't back down. Especially when we're fighting for something as important as our town's future. As they finalized their presentation, a sense of unity surrounded them. It wasn't just about their dreams anymore. They were fighting for their friends, their families, everyone who believed in their cause. They shared glances, each nodding in agreement, feeling the connection deepen. When Emily glanced at the clock, panic crept back in. Tomorrow meant facing the council, and the unknown that came with it. Are we really ready for this? She whispered, breaking her growing enthusiasm. Jake caught her eye, his expression steady. We are. No matter what happens, we've already shown that we can come together. That's what matters the most. Suddenly there was a loud knock at the door, making everyone jump. Emily's pulse pounded in her ears. Who could it be? With all the tensions mounting, it felt like a real storm was brewing outside. Matching the turmoil within, she quickly got up to check the peephole. The visitor was a familiar face, but he shouldn't have been there. Emily turned to her friends, a mix of shock and concern filling her. It's him. The man from the council. She breathed, anxiety slicing through the air. What could he possibly want at this hour? Would he bring more threats or seek to intimidate them further? Emily felt a knot tightening in her stomach again, but there was no turning back. Are we ready for whatever he has to say? She asked, the words barely coming out. Jake stepped forward, his jaw set. Let us face him together. We're stronger in numbers, right? With a deep breath, Emily opened the door, heart hammering. The night air felt heavy, charged with uncertainty and anticipation. Would this encounter seal their fate, or give them an unexpected advantage? The moment stood still as she opened the door, revealing the man whose intentions were shrouded in mystery. What would happen next? Hello, Emily, the man said, his voice smooth yet rigid. He stood there, the streetlight casting an ominous glow around him, but his demeanor was almost deceptively calm. Mind if I come in? The tension in the room tightened further. Emily exchanged glances with Jake and their friends. They needed to stand strong together. They could face whatever storm was brewing. Are you here to threaten us again? Jake stepped closer, his voice low but steady. The man raised an eyebrow, a slight smirk dancing on his lips as though he relished this intensity. Not exactly. I just wanted to talk, he replied, arrogance lacing his words. You kids are ambitious. I admire that. But you're stepping into dangerous territory. Emily felt her heart race. Dangerous? Why? Because we want to improve our town? He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, each move deliberate as if to intimidate. Look, I know your plans sound noble, but change is messy. Trust me. Jake took a deep breath, ready to counteract the fear threatening to seize them. We're aware of the risks, but we believe in our community. We're focused on collaboration, on listening, and that's not a weak position. The man chuckled, shaking his head. Fighting against established structures isn't easy. It takes more than passion. Think about it. Do you really believe the council will allow you to shape the future? You have no idea what you're getting into. Emily's pulse quickened at being told what she could and couldn't do. She stepped forward, the fire within igniting fiercely. You think we're naive, but you're underestimating the power of this community. We're coming together to voice our thoughts, and that's what scares you, isn't it? He opened his mouth, but Jake jumped in before he could respond. If you want to play games, we're ready. You say we don't have a foundation, yet here we are building connections with people that matter. That's what lasts. In that moment a shift occurred. Emily could see doubt flicker momentarily across the man's composed facade. Hurt could also be seen in his eyes, the kind that came from knowing people had been silenced before. Fine, he said, the bravado waning, his tone softer. But this is your warning. Don't say I didn't try to help. With that, he turned to leave, casting one last look over his shoulder. Just remember, ideals without action amount to nothing. As the door clicked shut, the room exhaled a collective sigh. Wow, that was intense, one of her friends whispered, still shaken by the encounter. Yeah, but we stood strong, Emily said. feeling the adrenaline settling into determination. He doesn't know us. He doesn't know the heart of this community. Still, Jake added, stroking his chin thoughtfully, what he said about fighting established structures. That's real. We need to be prepared for anything coming our way. Their gazes locked and held firm. What should we do next? One of the girls asked, eyes wide with anticipation. Prepare for the meeting, and we need to emphasize our plan, Emily said, a new surge of energy firing through her. We show them our foundation, local voices, solid business plans, and real connections built on trust. We will give them reasons to support us. Jake nodded, a fierce determination in his eyes. Let us do this together. With their hearts uniting in purpose, they began discussing their strategies again, weaving ideas, concerns, and passionate ambitions. The atmosphere pulsed with hope, and in that moment, the thread tying them together tightened, a fabric strong enough to hold their dreams. Days passed, and their efforts culminated in the town meeting, where they stood side by side, nerves buzzing beneath the surface. Locals filled the seats, faces becoming familiar as the conversations flowed from heart to heart. The air crackled with energy as Emily stood before everyone. She took a deep breath, reminding herself why they were there, pushing feelings of doubt aside. Thank you for being here. This is our moment to share our future. What began as a supportive wave built into a roar of voices. They showcased their plans. Colorful slides illuminated their ideas, and the threads of community resilience were palpable. With Jake by her side, she felt emboldened, their partnership resonating. Each success built momentum, and soon the voices of skeptics began to shift, sparking curiosity instead of contention. But then came moments of vulnerability and confrontation, reminding Emily of the challenges ahead. The man who had threatened them earlier stood up, blocking the connection they were building. You all truly think this will happen? You're naive. Emily took a step forward, her heart racing but steady. Naive? Or hopeful? Change doesn't happen without a dream. And we're turning our hopes into action. We ask for your trust, not just your support. It was in this moment that connections began to bridge. Seeds of doubt began fading as people shared their own ideas, fears, and hopes. Emily was surprised to see even the most resistant voices softening under the weight of shared stories and experiences. At the end of the meeting, Jake turned to her with bright eyes. We did it, Emily. We created something real. The applause echoed around them, but it wasn't merely noise. It was a wave of unity, a promise wrapped in connection. As they left that night, walking side by side, Emily felt a sense of transformation cover her like warmth. Change is possible, she said, a radiant smile on her face. Jake nodded, squeezing her hand oh so gently. And together we can make this journey count. As their paths crossed, illuminated beneath the night sky, they realized the true power of love and determination. They had woven their lives into the fabric of a community that mattered, believing in hope, connection, and the relentless spirit of those who dare to truly take a stand. Now let us carry this story forward. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.